I don't, I've been really bad in my guesses these last couple of matchups. I keep calling for bombs just because it has to happen for me at least one time. So I'm going to stick with my guns, but we're about to find out in just a couple of minutes.
You know, one thing, it's not going to be that sword because Uncle did not leave with the sword. So it's going to be something different. We'll find out shortly. Getting a map check right off the bat. Looks like we have a Crystal Tower of Hera, the green pendant at Eastern, and I want to say that was also a pendant at Desert Palace as well.
Yeah, I believe that's what I saw as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, blue pendant. So our runners are getting in. So what's your guess real quick before we see this happen?
I'm going to say Cane of Samaria.
Ooh, red cane. Well, instead it is that Big D, the bow off Uncle. We should have known better because they got that item or arrow capacity upgrade, and on JCopes there grabbing the 8 bomb capacity or 8 bombs right there off the bat. Really nice.
And both of them grabbing the Cane of Samaria, which is also in Uncle Cave. We have a dual weapon start here.
Yeah, and also getting some lucky magic pot drops there on JCop's side, so he's going to be able to even use it. Perhaps in that rope hallway. It's a very useful item to get through there.
Mm-hmm, definitely. And, you know, this is interesting. JCopes got that 8 bomb drop, but jmeasher did not get that drop. Okay, he got it now, thankfully. But yeah, did not get it right away.
Yeah, you had to hope that that was what was going to happen. There's a lot of green guards to kill, and since it was part of the green... Oh my goodness, there's Power Glove. Now they're playing with power, ladies and gentlemen. They'll be able to pick up all sorts of goodies along the way now.
Yeah, they will, and that is also 1/3 of our Dark World access, at least starting out, so definitely good to find that early.
Yeah, and I was going to say, lots of green guards, another bomb there, so chances of only one of them getting that 8 bomb drop was pretty low, but could have happened. Jay having a little bit of trouble with that guard.
Kind of hard to call either of our runners Jay in this case.
Oh, I suppose that's true.
Got JC on the left and JM on the right.
Yeah, so we are looking at a very fast time here for the escape sequence with bow is a very powerful weapon, and the fact that they've already picked up bombs means we're going to probably see some sub-6 times. That's exactly what you want in a tight race up, especially in the round of 64.
Yeah, for sure. The bow is definitely, I want to say, the fastest weapon to get through escape with. Fire Rod also quick, but it does have that animation lag here and there, so... You know, if you get one of those 2 weapons, you'll be flying through the escape portion.
Now, what's very interesting about bow starts is we've been seeing more and more along the way of runners leaving the escape and going straight into, or leaving Kakariko Village and going straight for Eastern Palace. It's a fully completable dungeon. In this case, it's a green pendant, but I wonder if it might pull one of these runners in that direction.
I always say it, but, you know, when you get bow, you have that opportunity for that divergence. And, you know, it would be a strong and bold play to make because if there is something there, like you have that early, everyone routes through Kakariko at some point anyway. And, you know, some people try to maybe even avoid Eastern for later on until they get the mirror and they can kind of combine it with Darkness Palace. So it would be a very strong play to make, but then there's always that thing where if it doesn't pay off, it is a pendant dungeon in this case. It could also be seen as a time sink as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But it does now, as Ranger of the Void there in chat correctly points out, it's 7 items, so it's fairly dense as far as item location is concerned, especially because of the green pendant there.
Oh yeah, for sure, definitely.
And I must say, it's a lot more fun when we get some divergent strategies between the 2 runners. Of course, in game 1, you just want to kind of play it straight, I think. There's also that element where you just want to, you know, play your standard game, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that full magic pod is also going to be a nice little bonus there on JCopes' side.
Well, for sure, has that can of Samaria, so again, fully utilizable weapon if wants to kind of save some of those arrows if they do decide to go to Eastern Palace, for example. But we are about to hit the mother load of the escape here. 3 chests in this back room. Need a bomb to get here. And, you know, thankfully they were able to find the power glove. They're both going to get in here regardless, but it's so annoying to route this back in later if the power glove happens to be in here, as we get the blue mail and the lantern.
Yeah, that's
okay, I say go to Eastern.
Yeah, well, there's a signal there for sure, perhaps. I mean, as I just say for sure and perhaps in the same sentence. Certainly wanting to have access to an early lantern, the seed does expect them to face dark rooms relatively quickly. Whether or not that's because of an Agaseed, who knows? There's still 2 items away.
That's true. There's still a lot of information that needs to be found. Last item in the escape is a red rupee. And looks like jmeasher is going to be doing kind of the standard route out of Sanctuary, so may not see that Eastern gamble right away, but, you know, after Kakariko, that's going to be right there, and that could be a very logical play to make.
Yeah, and jmeasher is going to forgo the lumberjack check, just heading straight up into the Lost Woods. JCopes may actually be going there, so we'll get a little bit more information on that side of the screen.
Getting some information on the tree pole, just some hearts. I believe that's the level 2 tree pole.
And 300 rupees here at the mushroom location is actually very nice. It's been a relatively dry rupee start so far, so that's going to give them the funding to get through Kakariko Village completely. Very nice.
Ooh. You get that moon pearl from the forest hideouts.
Yeah, so there we go. One more item away from Dark World access. With a lot of checks available in Kakariko Village, there's a good chance that that's going to kill our Aga-required seed.
Mm-hmm.
And we did see that it was 50 rupees up in Lumberjack Hut, or up behind the Lumberjack Hut, so we do know that that's not going to pull them that way as well. So jmeasher is going to give us our first look here in Blind's Hut.
5 items in here, so a lot of potential to find some good items. Just a blue boomerang so far. Well, there's Zora and Bottle Vendor taken care of.
Yeah, it's great. With Moon Pearl, that also means that the fake flipper play is a lot more tempting.
This is true.
So far, just some love in the well, but 3 more chests to take a look at.
Silvers.
Wow. Silver arrows early on, 300 more rupees to go on, but as I was saying, silver arrows with that bow, just compounding the damage potential of both of the runners once they get them.
Bosses, what are those? We have silver arrows.
Now, one interesting thing I have seen, a couple of days ago, we actually had a soft lock here in the Kuko Hut on stream, and since then, I have noticed a significantly fewer runners throwing that chicken down the hole.
Yeah, it's something you always hear about, like, oh, be careful of doing the chicken clip, you might cause a soft lock, but, you know, you do it because it looks cool. Then all of a sudden you just see it happen, and it's like, well, I just have to save and quit and come back here later. That's not fun. Let's be a little more careful with that.
So the library just has a piece of heart in it. jmeasher is now going to head over to check May's game, and it looks like he's going to go around and give a viewpoint on it first instead of going straight in. So
and with the red rupee, we are not going to be bothering with that. We have more than enough rupees for the rest of the seed at this point, honestly.
And jmeasher's going to show us the standard routing, going to check out the dam area here, and then I would assume head up to Mini Moldorm, but you never know. Sometimes people will take that path less traveled and head over to Agina's Cave. We'll see what happens.
First item in the dam we have is a piece of heart. And looks like JCopes is also going south, both still kind of holding out on that Eastern Palace play, but you mentioned before, we have fake flipper potential. There's some items down here. May just want to kind of check these first before making a play on that.
Yeah, and I was sad to see that it was a pendant Eastern. If it was a crystal dungeon, I think that would have been something that would have pulled them a lot more likely just to get it over with, but...
Right. jmeasher opting to use the bow to fight these mini Moldorms.
Having a little bit of trouble. Trying the cane instead. It's a little bit easier. You just got to make them run into the block.
And you can use it multiple times too, so it's always a good thing to use.
And rewarded with a full bottle of magic there, so definitely not a waste of time. Ether Medallion coming out of Mini Moldorm came along with half magic, so that's fantastic.
And hook shots. So that hook shot could actually turn things around and make another big opportunity. We do have Death Mountain access right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of items to check up there now logically available. And if you're the runners, you're probably hoping to see a hammer before you go just to give you Tower of Hera access. Or the mirror, of course, but...
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, after this, Eastern would be the play, just to kind of stay on the ground, make sure you have everything before you go up, because kind of taking multiple trips up the Death Mountain can be kind of time-consuming. Doesn't seem like it would be, but... you know, kind of the time you kind of take climbing up the mountain and around the mountain, it really does start to add up, especially in these races.
So both runners going to give us Ice Rod Cave. It's just 10 arrows, but, you know, they're 10 arrows that both runners are actually going to be happy to have collected, as they are running low on ammunition.
Definitely. And in other runs, when you see those arrows, you kind of just like think, oh, well, this is not an item, but in a seat like this, that's actually really good to find. Especially when we do not have that sword yet, or even that hammer yet.
Yeah, now we will see a divergence here. jmeasher is definitely fake flippering. JCopes, though, is starting back up at Sanctuary, so he's going to head up Death Mountain, I think.
Yep, I don't think there's anything else, so that is more than likely where he is going to go.
Well, the fake flippering is not cooperating here on jmeasher's side. Finally gets it.
Yeah, it's very precise when you do the fake flipper from that point. Gotta have to make sure you're on the exact edge of the screen, like 1 pixel away from the screen transition, and then you gotta jump into the water and then very quickly move to the left or right, depending on that transition placement. And if you're any frame off, then it's not gonna work, and you're just gonna pop back up on land. So you have to be very specific with that.
And so Bombos Medallion there under the bridge helps get into Ice Palace later on a little bit.
JCopes gets the shovel from the old man.
Yeah, you know, it's about time for a fetch quest. We hadn't had one yet. I'm going to anticipate that we'll see what's going on under Spectacle Rock and on top of it first, before coming back down to the east side of Death Mountain.
We'll need to be careful and watch his health a little bit. He is getting kind of low.
So up on top of Spectacle Rock is just another 100 rupees sitting there. And underneath we see a blue rupee.
Inside the Waterfall Fairy Cave, just get 2 big 20s, so more rupees for Zora that we don't exactly need right now.
Yeah, and well, JCopes is low on life. jmeasher's even more so, just a half a heart.
Wow, I did not even notice that. Oh, just a red rupee there, but that's actually good because he doesn't mean he won't have to come back later for that item.
Oof, getting knocked out of the fake flipper situation or the water walk just makes things a little more tense. He's got to make his way through this gauntlet without taking any hits.
Meanwhile, I'm going to get the Paradox Cave from JCopes. Got a heart container, 2 heart containers, and from Zora, how about just a heart piece?
Yeah, and I would not be surprised to see jmeasher heading up to Death Mountain as well at this point.
Yeah, they both do not want to touch that eastern area yet, as we get a green potion bottle. The hammer, okay, this was a good call.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now they're going to end Fire Rod as well, so...
Wow.
This seed is giving up all the goodies. JCopes is now going to be able to carry this all the way up in the natural path heading into Tower of Hera. So that's a great, efficient route. jmeasher is going to get to enjoy that same thing just a few minutes behind him.
Yeah, and as chat's already pointed out, that means that Aghanim is officially dead. No reason to beat him at this point, so gonna not even worry about that. Of course, jmeasher does not know that yet, but, you know, for our knowledge, we know that that's not going to be a thing.
So, entering Tower of Hera at 17 minutes 40 seconds, first Crystal Dungeon. It's going to be fully completable. They have fire sources, actually both of them, in the event that the basement is required. So far, so good. Map down there in the first item location. Oof.
We're going to the basement.
It was my fault, ladies and gentlemen. That was all me.
It's really not too bad, though. I mean, whenever you see a case like this where you're required to enter the basement, it at least feels good because you know that your opponent's gonna have to do this too. So it's not like too much of a time loss here.
Yep. You know, you get to wipe your hands dry, opening start nerves. Enjoy this coffee break situation.
And JCopes is actually in a good position to do a bit of a death warp here, too, once he does collect that big key.
Yeah, he's been hovering at that low health since coming out of the Paradox Cave, so... You know, half magic, why not just throw some Fire Rod out there? You never know.
Yeah, and there's a full magic in here, so you can just get it back easily.
Chooses not to, but...
half magic, and you'll get the full from Moldorm anyway, so...
Exactly.
So one item I would personally like to see before we reach the end of this is either like Cane of Burna or the Magic Cape, because that would actually open up a Spike Cave check, and we're not far from that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They do need some form of invulnerability. But they are also going to have to head down Spiral Cave, so...
Yeah.
There's 2 downward path checks they'd have to go through.
See, that's kind of what I like, though. I like kind of seeing like them pick and choose, like which is the more advantageous route to take, and could see a bit of a divergence where it pays out for one and not the other.
So a blue rupee there in that chest. Either the big key chest or Moldorm is going to have the other item. Turns out it was the big key chest. And our first boss fight.
All right, let's see how aggressive Moldorm's going to be today for JCopes.
Oof, very nice hit
Wow.
there.
Yeah, I was surprised he actually got that, but very nicely done.
So just over 21 minutes, and we've got our first Crystal of the Seed. Off to a really nice start. Lots of overworld locations have been checked, and plenty of access items sitting in the runner's pockets. So many potential places to go at this point.
Yeah, and it's really nice because we also have that Dark World access too, so we can immediately go there, see what the crystals and pendants are for that world, and kind of just make our path from there, kind of try to find a nice route we can work with as we continue to check out more of those overworld locations.
Yeah, so the long walk down Spiral Cave is the next thing to watch. Meanwhile, jmeasher's setting up his Death Warp.
And all of that long walking will give us just 50 rupees.
Yep. Wow, all the bombs over on jmeasher's side there. 2 8-drops, replenishing his bomb pack. And JCopes is going to give us Hype Cave in just a few moments.
And see, from Hype Cave, he could opt to do kind of a wraparound to the Palace of Darkness if he so chooses to.
Yeah, we'll get to see if it is a crystal, and indeed it is a 5/6 crystal. The other pendant hanging out in Skull Woods and Swamp Palace is crystal number 5, so definitely an option to go take care of Palace of Darkness right off the bat.
Yeah, definitely. And if we do find a mirror either here or on the way to Palace of Darkness, that could cover our Eastern Palace and Sarkashara checks as well.
Mm-hmm. So far, Hype Cave, very bomb-centric.
Incredibly bomb and health-centric, so no progression here. Meanwhile, jmeasher having his battle with the worm on top of Death Mountain. Nicely done on his end as well.
JCopes immediately turning right, going to head into the Palace of Darkness area. I was wondering if he might sneak away up to the Pyramid Ledge first, but choosing to go right for the dungeon. Lots of items here in Palace of Darkness. Plenty of information to be found.
Yeah, that's right. We got 5 items here, and just due to the nature of that big key hunt in general, you tend to go through quite a bit of the dungeon anyway, so it's kind of a dungeon you don't really think about clearing in Go mode, because Go mode can either mean just clearing the whole dungeon anyway. So, you know, it is a good choice to kind of hit this early if you have the chance to.
So not that it matters since we started with the bow, but we'll find out in just a moment if this would have been bow locked. Answer is no.
Bow lock wouldn't have been much of a problem because considering the uncle gave us that weapon, but yeah.
Right. So really what we have between these two runners is, though it looks like JCopes is about 2 or 3 minutes ahead, we have to remember that jmeasher has actually done the waterfall area, Waterfall of Wishing, and Zora checks. So that's about the time difference between these two runners. And at some point, you got to hope, or he'll have to hope, that JCopes feels it necessary to go look there. But at this point, that is not the case.
And you know, that's the thing about Randomizer, is sometimes just those little differences. Yeah, like JCopes does have kind of, like you said, like a bit of a 2-minute lead at the moment. But you know, assuming if there was something at Zora, he could be like searching a lot more of the world, and eventually that check is going to come back, and that's going to be that time sink. So, you know, you really can't tell if that's going to be a payoff or not.
Even in a seed that gives up a lot of goods early on, there's typically that moment where there's that single item that you're, you know, having to wander all over the world for. It might not come until very late in the game, or it might never come at all.
That's true. You never know how a randomizer seed is going to go down.
So all the keys here in Palace of Darkness makes routing very easy.
That's right. I think we've only seen like one item so far, so there's plenty of more items. Whoa!
That was actually an advantageous fall. It kind of
back
to where it needed to go. It was totally intentional, ladies and gentlemen. That was an on-purpose situation. I guarantee it.
As long as it didn't despawn that can of Samaria block, hey, it works out.
So another key there means I think we found almost all of the keys in Palace of Darkness, which means that something good had to be here in the Harmless Hallway.
That's the big key, which is another item in here. So, yeah, we've officially gotten all the keys. I think map and compass are still out there, but we'll be seeing nothing but items that aren't keys for the rest of this dungeon.
Starting with 300 rupees.
And the map. And I think at this point we've seen all the 300 rupee items in this seed. We had to have at this point, I think.
I believe there are 5, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, 5. Okay, then maybe there's one more then.
But that's still, I'm not sure how many we've got. It certainly feels like we've got a lot of them.
Yeah. Showing that the hook shot cannot actually hurt those Dodongo enemies.
Yeah, and also I've noticed the prize pack in this contains an awful lot of full magics.
Yeah, I think that's the that might be the stun prize, maybe.
Oh, boots! There's the boots. So Palace of Darkness, definitely a great call for both of these players to have made early on. Just the sooner you get boot speed, the better. The longer you're able to take advantage of it.
Taking a death warp here in the dark maze, so get back to the start and start approaching the boss.
Yeah, and we have seen the map and the compass, so Helm's King has the potential to be holding something important.
But if not, they're going to consider the one reward for coming here, those boots, because that's a couple of locations we can take a look at, just faster movement in general, we find Flute, that could be our access inside. Oh, I have a bookshot too, but you know, Desert Palace, we might want to check that at some point too. So, good item to have, those boots.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's despite what it looks like, this is not swordless. So we should be hopefully finding a weapon an A-button weapon sooner rather than later at this point.
Yeah, I think at this point we've collected every... Oh, no, we haven't got Bernie yet, but we've almost gotten every single Uncle possible item at this point. Except that sword.
Turtle room is completed. So with no sword to hold out in front of your face here, Helmsar King takes a little bit more technical skill. You'll see that the runners, yeah, as we can see here on JCop's side, there's a little bit more tentative as you approach the mask.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with the sword, you kind of have that little tink sound to know, like, when you're right in front of them, they can use the hammer and always get a guaranteed hit. Without the sword, you can't really do that.
But just a single arrow is going to put that boss down. And great second crystal here, 32 minutes, 15 seconds in for JCopes. Gets a sword out of
Oh, wow. We were just talking about you.
A few victory slashes there. I think those were slashes of happiness, not slashes of upset.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And the only downside here is that he doesn't have the mirror to go check those 3 chests sitting in Saharshala's hut, or potentially the items in Eastern Palace.
Unfortunately not, but he does have some places he can check, which is probably why he's not saving them quite yet. This could be a pyramid check, and maybe even going over to the catfish as well to kind of see what those kind of out-of-the-way item locations are.
Yeah, I think when you have the boots, it really makes it a lot more attractive to head down or head all the way up to catfish compared to just normal running. So that might play a role or a factor in his decision to carry this up. We'll see.
Yeah, and you know, Pyramid, you wouldn't think it's like kind of an out-of-the-way location, but it is kind of one of those locations you can easily forget about if you spend too much time away from. It's something you technically have access to once you do kind of have that Dark World access, and you know, it could just be laying there the whole time, and I've seen runners kind of just like wait till very late to check that, and it's, oh, hey, look, it's the mirror. So you know, it's kind of good to get that check in as well.
So interestingly, we see him switch to the hook shot. Instead, he's going to go across the north spot, so foregoing catfish. And I think I like this play. I think it is a notable time save then going back to the light world and then making that long path around to the portal above Kakariko Village. So
right. The only thing is, if jmeasher does decide to save and quit, and if he does take that long path around the Kakariko Lost Woods path, he could also check those, or at least one of the boots locations too. So that could be something.
Yeah, the more interesting thing there is that making this choice without taking that few screens check up to catfish may be an impactful part of this game. We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, definitely. Does get a red bottle from the C-shaped house.
Yeah, and jmeasher finishing off. Helmsar grabs his sword. Looks like also going to take a trip up to, at the very least, Pyramid Ledge. Quake Medallion.
That's all the medallions accounted for. We know where they all are, so I believe Bombos was at Hobo, that's right.
Yeah, so we're just Flute, Flippers, and Ice right away.
Another green potion bottle. Wow, that was both Village of Outcasts houses having bottles.
Mm-hmm. So Thieves Town now, a logical choice. It's the next crystal dungeon available. 4 items to be found here.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll see what jmeasher does, because he does have that same decision that JCopes had a little while ago.
He's pulled out the hook shot. He's going to go up to Catfish, though.
Okay.
So, potential for a game-changing situation here. We'll see what happens.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and right now you can kind of see like the two differences of these playstyles. jmeasher being a little more thorough with his kind of routes and his checks, while JCopes kind of narrowing and zeroing in on those dungeons. So, and you know, it really could come down to, like, for example, that Bombos medallion that jmeasher found. That could be important, and who knows when JCopes is going to go looking for that.
So Catfish does end up giving 3 bombs. And jmeasher decides to do a save and quit. You're going to head over to Kakariko Village through the light world and then enter the dark world from the north portal there.
Mm-hmm. Looks to be that way. Gonna check the shovel spot first, though.
All right. That fetch quest was made available to them quite some time ago.
Yep, the old man had the shovel.
That's as disappointing a shovel dig as I think you could possibly get.
A little bit. Like, even the digging game would pay out more, because you'll at least get like rupees alongside of the 1 rupee.
And jmeasher's going to have an opportunity now to actually go to Sick Kid. Meanwhile, JCopes picks up that Master Sword, so level 2 sword.
So that actually official. Oh, well, I got another level 2 sword on Sick Kid as well.
Yeah, and that means that Tempered Sword is very likely for jmeasher, or it's definitely going to happen. Meanwhile, JCopes, it's quite likely.
Yeah, once he gets that, if he gets the mirror in here, that's going to be probably one of his first checks. He has 3 bottles, so I imagine that's on his mind.
Yeah. Not sure how the Sick Kid ended up with the Sword of Evil's Bane under his pillow, but Hyrule gets a little weird when Ganon's mixed things up.
Well, you see, the little kid was supposed to be the hero of time, but he got sick, so Link had to, or Toad in this case, had to take over.
That makes sense. 10 arrows hanging out in the big key chest here in Thieves Town. So far, Thieves Town just providing that sword upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, Book of Medora!
Wow, and that's... You know, it's unfortunate that it's a pendant dungeon, but that could be pointing over to Desert Palace.
Yep, it will provide maybe an impetus to go check Agina's Cave, and as well, there's also the Desert Ledge, so plenty of items to be had in that direction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shame that both runners are pretty much done with Death Mountain until they get Dark World access there through the Titan's Mitts. So Ether Tablet beckons and need the mirror for Bombos, so JCopes having near perfect line fight.
Getting 10 bombs for the reward. So, now that we do have that Desert Palace access, and, chat's absolutely going to love this, but this actually does kind of put that pedestal in logic, and, with that book, and Skullwood's not far. I guess he technically mirror, I guess, but still, like, just pedestal is in play, and there could be an item on there now.
Yeah, as all 3 of the pendant dungeons are fully completable at an early juncture, so
Mm-hmm.
it is a possibility. Lots of potential items. Ice Rod could be there. Well, pretty much everything that they're looking for.
Yeah, Ice Rod, Flute, Flippers. Mirror, for that matter. Mitts, yeah, that's right. Mitts too.
Yeah, there's a lot. Oftentimes it's quite noticeable, or there's quite a lack of potential items that could be on the pedestal. But in this particular seed, just the way that it's unfurled with the 2 palaces that in the light world, as well as Skullwood, which has a very limited item requirement to access.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes, like, that's the thing with the pedestal, is sometimes if there is an item there, the game will be kind of just, like, leading you in that direction, especially if it's an item like the mitts, because the mitts lock so many item locations and dungeons in general. So if they kind of give you, like, the 3 pendants that aren't in or behind the mitts locations, it's like saying, well, you might want to maybe check this out, otherwise you're not going to be able to access anything else.
Mm-hmm. Now I'm curious, there's still an item left here in Skullwood, so JCopes is going to go to the back. But I'm curious if he will full clear and just kill Mothula for that pendant. If this is the item or not.
It's definitely possible, and honestly something to consider, just because of the way the seed's kind of pointing these guys in the direction of that pedestal.
Oh, well, that changes the calculus a little bit. Big Key does give access to that Big Key chest. But JCopes is going to go ahead and do Mothula.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully he does have that red potion, also has a couple of greens, not that he'll really need them because he has half magic right now, but, he has a lot of potential for taking down Mothula quickly.
And at this time, jmeasher kills off Blind.
And here we go with Mothula, starting out with the sword.
Mothula kind of behaving here, staying off the spikes pretty nicely.
Wow, and really nicely done.
Wow, mirror, so
wow, okay, good.
Definite wanted to kill.
It would be crazy if, like, we got mirror from there, and then Lanmo and Eastern Palace also had one of those
required
potential pedestal items, and then of course there's an item on the pedestal too.
This does mean, of course, that we're very conveniently going to be able to check pedestal. That's important information, and it's just an arrow capacity upgrade. So
Well, I mean, there could still be like 2 other items on pendant bosses. That dream's still alive. I think that's just as good as a pedestal seat at that point.
Well, there's another 300 rupees hanging out in dig game.
Okay, so I think we officially got them all now.
That has to be them all. And we're going to get Stumpy checked over here by jmeasher. So he's choosing to go this southern route. That's going to pull him away from the mirror at this point. Not ideal for him.
I think he is going to be able, though, to check the bonk rocks, which is something Jacobs has not done yet. Also, wow, we actually didn't get either of the Skull Woods items until the end, because the big key, or the big chest, also had
that 10 arrows.
An arrow upgrade, yeah.
So bonk rocks, just a big 20.
Let's see this, or not. Okay, never mind. No bumper K for us.
And now, the benefit here is because JCopes picked up that mirror, he's going to be able to do the full north route checks here. He's going to have access to Graveyard Ledge, bonk rocks, and King's Tomb.
Mm-hmm.
Maximum efficiency.
And looks like jmeasher is heading over to Eastern Palace now.
Well, even just the 3 chests in the back of Saharshla's hut are overworld location checks from Sphere 1. So they could hold literally anything.
That's true, and with how early we had the Eastern Palace logic fulfilled, you know, definitely a lot of potential for stuff in there, too. And we got that green pendant, so... You know, honestly, it's not a bad check.
So just a full heart container out of the back of Saharshla's closet. But it looks like he's going to head into Eastern Palace.
Mm-hmm. You know, he could be thinking what we were kind of thinking a while ago is, you know, we have all these items for pendant dungeons. You know, this could be what he's thinking, like, you know, maybe there is something on pedestal, and if I aim for those pendant dungeons, I could kind of have a bit of an edge right now.
Yeah, there's an opportunity for that path less traveled. JCopes finishes off this northern route and now is going to head back to the Village of Outcasts to check out what I assume would be the southern areas. Doesn't have a Titan's Gate yet, so there's a large number of things that he can't quite accomplish, but he is going to get that sick kid turn in for his tempered sword.
And with tempered and silvers, you gotta be feeling pretty good about that Ganon fight.
Yeah, 3 crystals in with 48 minutes, and places starting to open up all over the place.
We just had a major item find on the right. We found the myths.
So that's another really important item just kind of floating here in a pendant dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
So where will the flute be for that sweet, sweet Misery Mire access now?
And you see, you know, it's a little unfortunate considering the circumstances, but if we actually did go to Eastern before Death Mountain, that would have been like all of Dark Death Mountain Search 2 when we got up there.
That would have potentially played really, really well for the runners. Getting a K45 check now. We haven't seen this one yet. Just the fighter shield.
Yeah, the shield's not necessarily being required. The mirror shield might be required by logic to get items on the laser bridge in Turtle Rock, but aside from that, don't really need them to complete the game. So you'll see most runners kind of skip those if they can.
Yeah, and it's not often that you get to see a race where the runners have taken divergent paths, gone into 2 different pendant dungeons, and are going to feel good about both of their play. Usually one pays off and the other doesn't, or something along those lines, but this has been a tremendous find on both players' sides, opening up lots of new areas.
For sure, and after this, JCopes may opt to jump down and head over to the Desert Palace area, so jmeasher could get some time back depending on how he kind of routes this next part of the game.
Well, I think at the very least you go and check Agina's cave. You're right here, and take a look at what's going on the ledge. So nothing of note on the Bombo's tablet.
It looks like jmeasher's gotten all the items in here already, so heading straight to the back. Actually, he did big key chest. Yeah, so
he had it. He wants that green pendant. At the very least, it's another potential turn-in. So a full heart container here in Agina's cave. Not bad, but certainly not necessary at this point. With blue mail, silvers, tempered sword, a lower heart count is not going to hurt anyone.
No.
So just a 10 arrow capacity upgrade on the ledge here in the desert, but that's good enough for JCopes to go ahead and open it up to explore the 2 items located here in Desert Palace. If he finds both of them now, he knows he doesn't have to kill Lanmolas. So...
Ooh, just a red rupee from Sahasrahla, but Eastern Palace did pay off. We did get that Titansmith at the very least. Oh, and he's going to Death Mountain.
Yeah, he's got that Dark Death Mountain play now. Plenty of items to check. So Desert was bootlocked, but... it is of no concern for JCopes.
Shortly, we're going to see if that Bombos Battalion that JCopes does not have yet could be important for the Turtle Rock entrance.
Yeah, and Hobo, while it is like a location you would imagine that the runners would eventually check, it could sometimes be late in the game. It is just a one-off in a kind of an out-of-the-way spot.
Yeah, it's out of the way in the sense that at this point, you have to sequence break to even get to it.
So, Ether Medallion.
So as for this potential Turtle Rock play we could get right here, a little risky. We do not have the Ice Rod yet. It could be in Turtle Rock for all we know, or even in these other locations over here. But he's also missing the mirror, which will kind of leave Mimic Cave on a cliffhanger if he does decide to go in there as well.
Yeah, I don't know that I would like heading into Turtle Rock at this point if I were jmeasher, but sometimes you just gotta make that gamble. So picks up the flippers here in Super Bunny Cave, though.
I could almost say that those flippers might even be a deterrent to not do it, because it's like, well, see, he doesn't have the mirror yet, though, so he could be looking just for that right now before he even thinks about Swamp.
Yeah, well, but he does have Ice Palace access, so...
That's true.
So, Hookshot Cave so far, that's 20 rupees. 5 more added to that. and a piece of heart. Last chance for this cave to be anything good, but just another piece of heart. And I guess it turned out that Landmolus has an item because JCopes is going ahead and fighting him.
Yes, that is what I'm under the impression of. I don't think I've only seen 2 items here, so.
And jmeasher now checking Spike Cave. Does have boots and a hook shot for the invulnerability frames as well as a red potion. This is going to be tight on damage, but I believe he's going to be able to make it.
Yeah, with that red potion, he'll definitely have enough to get through.
Yeah, it's close. All that for 20 rupees. So.
And JCopes is officially out of options, so he is actually heading over to Eastern Palace, which is where he will find the Titan's Mitt, which he needs to kind of progress this seed.
Now, what's very interesting is how long will it take jmeasher to head up to... what's he doing? He's going to take a look and
I think he's going to Ice Palace.
Going to Ice, yeah. As I was saying, it's going to be interesting to see how long it takes jmeasher to head over to Skull Woods. Certainly he's able to complete the Ice Palace. Of course, it's a much more fun dungeon when you can go mode it.
At this point, jmeasher probably really wants that mirror to kind of be his go mode item, because mirror is always so awkward to get when you're still looking for items, because it just adds a couple of more loose squares to the equation of what you need to check. So that's kind of something you don't want to find until the very end at this point, because he's skipped a lot of those mirror spots just because he didn't have it yet.
Yeah, you either want it really, really early so that you can make use in an efficient manner of all of those locations, or like your, as you say, last item.
Definitely.
So now the question is going to be, is JCopes going to pick up Titan's Mitts and bail on this dungeon, or will he complete it all the way through? He's kind of at that cusp of a point where you can expect that more than one item in a dungeon that is necessary for him might not be the expectation, but it looks like his plan is to just go ahead and, nope, mirroring, so maybe. Yeah, he's going to make the call, and it is the correct call to make.
It is. Yeah, that green pendant will not lead to anything. It is such a risky play to make, but, you know, maybe he might feel like he needs that because Eastern was accessible so early in the seed. Could be thinking his opponent got it back then.
And now he's going to make the play up Death Mountain. Yeah, that's about as nice a chest location as quitting Eastern Palace could have for you. If it was any further in, you'd have committed a lot of time.
Yeah, for sure.
That was as good as it gets.
Yeah, so if like you do have to come back, you don't have to think about that right room. You can just kind of go straight to the back. So yeah, I can understand that.
And JCopes is gonna feel really good as he picks up these flippers here in Super Bunny Cave, because that's opening up both Swamp Palace and Ice Palace for him as completable dungeons. So 2 more crystals and he's good to go as well. Now Misery Mire potentially also finishable, depending on the medallions for him.
And if you can find that flute too.
Oh yes, of course.
Oh, there's another shield inside Ice Palace in the H room.
So what will be interesting is if JCopes decides to go to Ice Palace or Swamp Palace first. Ice Palace, of course, having a significantly higher number of items, potentially, might be the heavy influencer on his decision-making process.
Yeah, Swamp Palace has 6 potential items that could be there, and you know, there's also the fact that it is the 5/6 crystals, so that's also an additional 2 items on top of that.
But he just found the flute, yeah. So Death Mountain pays off doubly. Interestingly enough, because jmeasher did not have the mirror when he went up on that Death Mountain check for the Dark World, he could not make that Ether Medallion or Ether Tablet play, and the advantages on JCopes' side are just piling up at this point.
They are. That mirror really helped him out there, because yeah, like you said, jmeasher, because he didn't have that, that's just gonna remain a 1 square location up there. And it'd get to the point where it's like, well, do I want to go back up just to check that 1 location? And you'll be tempted not to do that for that reason.
So the goose is loose, and I would imagine that the next play is going to be heading into Misery Mire. You're going to have to get the Mire Shed checkerboard checks out of the way, and if Misery Mire is completable because you have the right medallion, it's the best of the 3 dungeons for him to go and look for progression in, since you kind of have to do it fully anyway.
And it's Quake, so yep, he can officially do that. Bombos is not going to be a factor whatsoever.
Yeah, and since we now know from jmeasher's side that Ice Palace isn't going to pay off as far as the Ice Rod, that's even more likely to be a better idea on JCopes' side.
Yes, definitely.
And it's at this point that jmeasher is really kind of out of gas as far as item locations to check. He has some south route things he can do now. He can go into Hammer Pegs and save Jeremiah. Looks like he's going to go and do King's Tomb, though.
Yeah, he did not have the mirror earlier, so he could unfortunately not do this, but he's going to take care of this now, get his 10 arrows, and yeah, he really needs to go to Skull Woods at this point if he wants to kind of stay in this.
Yeah, he is, with every moment he's not in Skull Woods, JCopes is just getting further and further ahead, I have to say. That final Ice Rod could potentially be an item that that does troll you.
Literally has the caveat of being quite literally anywhere except on or beyond Trinex.
So jmeasher is going to get his pedestal check, sorry. If he can find his way to the Master Sword area. Yeah, there it is. But at this point, it's JCopes' game to lose, unless, of course, Ice Rod happens to be in a incredibly trolly location. And that would just be luck of the draw, really.
Yeah.
So jmeasher now making play number 1 that's important, heading into Skull Woods. So hopefully, if he carries this out to its natural conclusion, we'll end up with that mirror. But as nice as that is for him, it still leaves the necessity of going up to that ether tablet. And right now, that's a near one-off location for him.
Yeah.
He'll probably route it in when he finally decides to pull the trigger on Turtle Rock, but it would be a really gutsy move for him to do it any other time.
Yeah, at this point, it's looking like his next call after this is, well, he's got a lot of mirror spots open to him. But then, you know, Swamp Palace is right there. It's got 6 items. Might be tempted to hop in there and look for it. And, you know, if JCopes finds that Ice Rod early in Swamp Palace, he's going to be able to go mode that dungeon. And jmeasher is going to be full clearing that completely.
So we're down to the last couple of locations here in Misery Mire. The chest here, and then the big key chest, plus Vitreous himself. So just that piece of heart, not what you want to see.
If he had 3 heart pieces, he probably would want to see that, because that'd give him a full health restore, which he really needs right now. But
at this point,
he should be fine.
Yeah, with silver arrows, Vitreous fight's not too challenging. Ooh, getting a bonk in that whiz robe necessitates the use of that red potion.
Yeah, it can actually be quite annoying to get back to where you were in Misery Mire just because of all the big rooms you have to traverse to, so it's better to kind of just like not die in that section.
Oof. So JCopes not setting up spooky action, and is in fact going to bomb. So 12 hearts, blue mail, silver arrows. Sitting at 11 right now. JCopes has Vitreous fight. It's going to go relatively well. Oh, look at that. That was an interesting situation.
Yeah, did that eyeball take 2 silver arrows?
That eyeball just tanked a heart, tanked an arrow.
Oh, wow.
It was a butch arrow.
So that's going to give him actually only his 4th crystal right now.
Yeah, and as often is the case with Ice Rod being that go mode item, it can literally be anywhere except on Trinex. And so it sometimes is one of the most trolly items in the game.
Yeah. It could be located right in Turtle Rock for all we know. That is just, wow, mutual teleportation there to the Dark World. Looks like they're both going to Swamp.
Yep. Well, Swamp Palace for JCopes also opens up Pyramid Fairy, so that's a great place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it opens up Pyramid Fairy for both of them as they simultaneously flood the dam. JCopes getting a bonk there, so if we're gonna have a race through Swamp Palace at the very least.
That would be interesting, but again, it's one of those cases where if they do find the ice rod in here, there's going to be two different mindsets at play once they find that, because JCopes is going to be going straight towards the end, while jmeasher will be continuing on looking for more items.
So just that 5 bomb capacity upgrade here in the first chest. Yeah, at this point, jmeasher really doesn't want to find the ice rod. He doesn't know that. He doesn't want to find the ice rod here. He's crossing his fingers if he knew that the ice rod is located somewhere in the overworld. Because you got to believe that JCopes is going to go into Ice Palace next in the event that he doesn't find the ice rod here. Right. After perhaps checking the Pyramid Ferry.
Yeah, that's correct. It's almost going to be a case where, and again, this is just speculation because we don't know where the heck that ice rod is going to end up being. jmeasher almost has to gamble on not only Ether Tablet, but then maybe Turtle Rock having that ice rod. That could give him a little bit of time back and a chance at this still, but you know, at this point, like, JCopes is just going to be looking at new locations after Ice Palace, so he should be able to find it not too long after.
Yeah, the big potential here is if it's not in Turtle Rock, because I would imagine that the conventional wisdom here is after you finish Ice Palace, if you're JCopes, you go to Turtle Rock and hope to find it. Meanwhile, jmeasher's probably going to want it to be, if he knows or if he's feeling like he's behind, is probably going to want it to be not in Turtle Rock. He's going to want it to be in a place like maybe on Jeremiah or in Gary's Lunchbox, places like that, little one-off location that JCopes might not be willing to take at this point.
Yeah, definitely. Also, this sync is absolutely crazy. They've been like right with each other this whole way through.
Yeah, both choosing to skip left side. We had another little lead change there based on the Water Striders.
Map strats.
Well, it looked like JCopes was having a hard time swinging his sword. I wonder if he might have got a little bit glitched there.
Maybe.
Yeah.
We're having a hard time getting the silver arrow into Argus.
Ooh, on both sides. But third shot's charm for JCopes. jmeasher pulling ahead slightly here. Fairy in a bottle for their troubles. 5/6 crystal as well to go alongside it.
And that is both crystal 5 for both runners.
jmeasher is going to go back in, and so is JCopes. They've got that left side to check. Additionally, they did not have, I don't believe, the big key, so there's a third chest as well.
Yeah, they did pick up the big key in the back section, so they'll be able to open that on their way to the left side.
So Matt358 asks, where was the flute? The flute was up on Death Mountain in the Ether Medallion tablet. When the runners went up there, unfortunately, it was in the Dark World, and jmeasher did not have the mirror at the time, while JCopes did. So that's why one of them has it and the other does not.
Yeah, jmeasher had no way to get from the Dark World to Light World, so because of that, was unable to grab that Ether tablet location.
So now I've got to believe that JCopes is going to go and full clear Ice Palace, which is going to allow jmeasher some time to catch up. He's already done that. Since he can't go to Misery Mire yet, it opens up some additional location checks that he might make in the overworld that could net him the Ice Rod.
Yeah, that's true, because he does have a lot of those mirror spots still, but the good thing is that also kind of allows you to route the Smith chain in a little more efficiently.
Mm-hmm.
So because of that could end up helping him if there is something on the blacksmith or the peg cave or anything.
Of course, with 2 items locations left here in Desert, it could all be a moot point if Ice Rod happens to be in one of these 2 chests. The last item here is definitely the map, so both runners getting out of here. Interestingly, almost saw a save and quit instead of a mirror, but looks like jmeasher remembers he has to check the Bomblos tablet in Desert area.
Yep, here is the Pyramid Fairy check. Gonna buy the big bomb and head over to the pyramid to get that last check. And I don't think JCopes has checked the catfish yet either, so he could potentially route that in and maybe take care of some of the Zora stuff since he has the mirror.
Yeah, the real bummer here is that one of the items in Desert Palace is on Lanmola, so jmeasher is going to get pulled into doing a full clear of this dungeon as well. It's short, so it's got that going for him, but we know that it won't help him out.
So I hope you guys in chat wanted an all dungeons run, because that's what we're getting, minus Aghanim's Tower.
Yeah. So, Piece of Heart and 20 rupees does not give JCopes the go mode that he was ever so desiring.
Oh, he is not going to Catfish and Zora. He wants to go straight towards Ice Palace, I think.
Yeah, that seems to be his decision. Oh, he's got Hobo, so that's Bombos for him. He is aware, of course, that that is not going to help him out. I mean, it will make getting into this Cold Stare fight in Ice Palace a little easier. But...
yeah, it allows you to use a large dosage of that Fire Rod if you start out with Bombos.
And getting bodied around by some of these guards here. Clearly time for Ice Palace on JCopes' side. jmeasher abandoning ship on Desert Palace.
Could be thinking that he's just wasting too much time on a pendant dungeon when there's other places to check.
Now, we do know that that is the right call. He does
Yeah.
not. So the problem is it's a sign of somebody who feels behind if they
Right.
do this. He's making some gambles. And he's going to feel real bad if he heads up to Death Mountain here and sees and takes Ether Medallion out. He'll feel good that he's done it, but it's going to make him feel bad about his situation, knowing how Mirror worked out. But it looks like he's going to Kakariko Village and therefore the Village of Outcasts to do that Jeremiah the Bullfrog, Gary's Lunchbox check.
Yes, and we'll also have that Peg Cave too, so... 3 locations. Unfortunately, can't do the magic bat yet. We still don't have a powder or even a mushroom to do fake powder.
But I believe that this is quite literally his hope. If this turns out to potentially to contain the ice rod, there's a chance, however small, that JCopes goes ahead and just pulls the trigger on Turtle Rock after finishing Ice Palace, and has to double dip. And a lot of chat throwing their 2 cents in onto where they think Ice Rod's going to be. It just feels like it's always in Turtle Rock, though. So
I know.
There's got to be a time when it's not.
It's just using like normal Zelda game logic, where you always get the item you need to beat the dungeon inside the dungeon. That's what it's using right now.
Oh, there it is!
Wow. Okay, so that's 1 ice rod.
And now this has interesting ramifications for jmeasher because that's going to pull him up to Turtle Rock, where he may be able to route in that flute check. So it's really going to boil down now to the decision-making process that JCopes has after he finishes Ice Palace. In the event that he goes straight to Turtle Rock, that's going to be a very unfortunate choice, I think, for him.
Yeah, it looks like jmeasher is going to be going kind of the long way around, so he's going straight for Turtle Rock in this case. It would have been nice if he went up the mirror route and then checked Ether before heading over here, but decides to go this route, which, I understand why.
Yep.
Turtle Rock... sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, yes, such a high density item location in Turtle Rock, so...
And, thankfully Turtle Rock's a case where it's a dungeon where you can't really go mode if you're going through the linear route. Like, it doesn't really allow yourself to do that. You're going to be going through almost all the rooms anyway, so it's not going to lose a whole lot of time by full clearing it.
Yeah, things can... there's, like, a very unlikely key layout that could give you the opportunity to skip maybe 2 or 3 chests plus all of Laser Bridge, but other than that, very unlikely to have that happen. You have to find all of the keys in Turtle Rock in the first few areas. So yes, we are technically in no mode. Neither runner is there yet.
Yep, jmeasher needs that flute, and JCopes needs the ice rod.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult. We can't really say who's ahead at this point. It's going to depend entirely on JCopes' decision after he finishes Ice Palace.
And jmeasher, by the same coin, he also has to make sure he checks that ether tablet after he's done here.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could see him just as easily like saving and quitting, checking like mirror spots that he still has.
Right. But if he's thinking that way, that ether medallion is a mirror spot for him where he's at. So
True.
he has the benefit of not being able to go into a dungeon. JCopes, on the other hand, can go into Turtle Rock here. And he may be pulled just because of the fact that Turtle Rock so often contains the ice rod. And, you know, that's just not really a true statement. It just seems to be that way. Randomizer is random.
Yeah, that's true. Random is in the name. Randomizer. I so want to know what these runners are going to do after they're done.
Yeah, I'm really holding my breath with anticipation here to see what happens.
Oh, look at that one-up mushroom on the right screen.
Yeah, so Turtle Rock. Not going to net anything exciting here. Maybe Red Mail or Butter Sword could be found by jmeasher, but
even the cape would be nice. A nice little tool you can use against Ganon, especially with half magic.
Yep. Now, what is very interesting, somebody just brings up the fact that Laser Bridge is not in Go mode, is not technically in logic at this time.
And that's true.
They haven't seen enough shields, and they don't have either Cape or Cane of Burna. So if they're paying attention, if JCopes does go up to Turtle Rock and he's paying attention, he knows that once he gets to Laser Bridge, he's not going to find the ice rod. Now, that's a hard check to make. It's a hard call to make. He knows that he's left at least one shield behind.
Here we have a flute. He's going to 3, so...
He's going... Oh, so he's making the correct call, I bet. Wants to clear out some of these overworld checks before heading up to Turtle Rock. Now, it, of course, depends on which overworld check he chooses to do. But I feel like he's making the right choice.
Yeah, I think he is, too. Yep, he's going down, so... He'll be in go mode in about a minute, I'd say. Probably less than that.
Yeah, and jmeasher just picked up what would have been the third shield. So that does make up this Laser Bridge go mode, or in logic, so... So we had our little bit of drama there for a moment. It was possible.
And jmeasher is getting kind of bodied by this Laser Bridge too.
Oof, mushroom.
Ooh, hello, mushroom.
Yeah, and I think he took that death on purpose. Oh, has a fairy in his pocket there. JCopes gets his ice rod, pulls out that flute, knows where he's going right away.
Yep, hitting go mode just short of the 1 hour and 30 mark. Just has Turtle Rock and Ganon's Tower left. He is climbing Death Mountain one last time, and he will be done with this seed within the next 15 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah, barring a really trolly tile room Ganon's Tower big key.
Yeah, definitely. And jmeasher heading off to the Trinex fights.
Yeah, and you gotta hope for his sake that he finds he doesn't follow that mushroom right away and goes up to Ether Tablet.
Hey, mushroom, this looks good. Maybe I'll turn it in. Oh no. Well, he doesn't have the flute, so thankfully he won't be able to.
That's true, yeah, he can't go there quickly. And he grabs the kill on Trinex here. Watch it be powder.
See?
It could happen. No, just a full heart container.
Okay, so that's 6 crystals for jmeasher. He needs to go over to Ether Tablet if he wants to have any chance of staying in this.
Yeah, and, you know, there's a close chance if he goes straight there, he's got... He tried to get spin speed there, or hookshot speed on those steps down. Didn't quite get it, but he's going to dash over, so he's making the correct call.
Yeah, there's nothing else on Death Mountain for him, so he is making the right play here. So this will be his go mode not too long after JCopes.
Yeah, and Misery Mire is technically a shorter dungeon. We do know that the big key is in the vanilla big key location. So typically not a place checked first, but it's going to be tight. It's a closer race than I would have guessed. Based on the way this situation played out. It's really anyone's game. He's probably going to finish maybe even a little bit ahead of this Turtle Rock play. Maybe not. It's hard to say.
Yeah, he will have to climb Death Mountain again. That'll take away some time. He has to go and activate the flute too, so that'll take away a little more time. It'll be very close. They'll finish their dungeons, I imagine, at around the same time, but JCopes will have the advantage of already being up there. Yeah,
Ganon's Tower is really going to be where it comes down to, I think, execution there. And so, you know, for a while I thought he had, the JCopes had a significant advantage, but it's maybe slight is a more appropriate way to say it. Just on this situation.
Turtle Rock also seems to be a dungeon where it's kind of longer than what you think it is. Like, you kind of think it's long because based on a kid, it always seemed like it was like really, really tough. The enemies would kill you at every turn, and there's like a lot of different rooms. But really, it has a very nice like linear progression that doesn't take too long to get through. So, yeah, I'd say JCopes definitely with the advantage of just being on top of Death Mountain already.
Yeah. But there's also the opportunity for, really nice Cana Samaria there in the chain shop room. There's also the opportunity for differing paths through Ganon's Tower if the big key location may come into play.
And Ganon's Tower is one of the most heavily based execution parts of the game. And, you know, these two randomizer players, they've been like just looking at that Swamp Palace play like together. They were with each other the whole time, so they're pretty on level execution wise. If like one room goes wrong, that could be a huge thing right there. So
yeah, they've both been making, you know, as is expected in a high stakes situation at the round of 64. Like they've been making some small errors along the way. Nobody is perfect all the time. So you never know what's going to happen.
That's true. You could be commentating another tie race for all we know.
Oh yeah, this would be my third. So if anyone's gonna get them, it's gonna be me. I am the one who causes ties.
Okay, so we'll see here if jmeasher decides to go straight towards the cutscene room. He is not, so, you know, saving it for last, it's understandable. You don't want to go through that cutscene if you don't have to.
Yeah, and after this, the flute and mirror situation, there's no way I would have thought this race would end as tightly as it seems to be heading at this point, so fantastic.
Oh, but he is going for cutscene room now, so he's not going to that compass chest, so going to be saving a little time there.
So chat's asking, you know, why is the 3-second rule for ties? And, you know, everybody's human. The game starts through an IRC countdown. Lag and latency could potentially affect them in a certain, you know, a little bit. And so 3 seconds is plenty of time to account for that. And you've got to be able to win by more than 3 seconds. So I think it's just a nice, safe window.
Yeah, and especially for randomizer, like just where, you know, so many different things can happen. You know, it kind of makes sense to kind of have like a bit of a buffer window of that sort, because, you know, strange things can happen, just kind of out of the way checks that, you know, make sense in theory, and that just don't end up paying off. It's just kind of a small grace period we have here, along with all of the latency issues as well.
Yeah, I suppose if you were playing like a live race, same location, you wouldn't need, you know, such a thing wouldn't be required, but this is an online tournament, so.
Right, right.
So with that, it is time to start the big key location guessing game, as JCopes has picked up his final crystal. So if you are a subscriber to any of the Speed Gaming family of channels, or you have donated 250 bits in support, you will be eligible to win fabulous prizes. Slim Kirby, will you please tell us what the correct guess will net its victor?
Well, let's see. If you happen to win this big key guessing game, you will get a... let's see, what are you going to get? You're going to get a mirror, because that mirror was such a important item in this particular seed.
Awesome. So I'm going to go with location number 3. It's my go-to spot. I just love watching them bonk into torches. Do you have a preference for the GT Big Key location today?
I always go with number 8, and specific locations, I say the Firebar Room.
All right, so get your numbers in, because we have now entered, and JCopes is going to head to the right side. First standard opening, going to check chest number 1, which is a small key, could change his routing decision. But instead, he's mirroring and going to go the, I would say, standard route.
Definitely.
To the left.
But you see, like, this is it right here. If jmeasher climbs up to Ganon's tower and happens to go right side, and if that big key's there, that changes this quite a bit.
Oh, very interesting that JCopes choosing to leave that key, small key, on the torch in item location number 3, saving Bob. He's doing that just for you. And we're going to take a look here, and location number 4 has the magic powder, a big 20 following that up. Another small key, got to kill these Staphos. And a bug net.
Okay, here's number 8. Looks like we have just a red rupee here, so we are still looking, and jmeasher climbing up Death Mountain as quickly as he can.
Ooh, there's a opportunity here. More seconds delayed as JCopes accidentally doesn't get the boomerang off correctly. Second time is a charm, though. So if the big key happens to be on the right side, it's possible that jmeasher will be able to make the correct call.
And JCopes is getting kind of close to his left side fully complete as he finds 50 rupees and chest number 9. Next up we have the rando room, called that because it's a room you normally will not see unless you're playing Randomizer.
Cane of Burna, red mail, so lots of goodies, and another big key in the randomizer room. Let's see if it's Bob's chest. Check number 14 coming up next. Meanwhile, jmeasher is going right side, so let's see if he goes full right side or not.
And this is, again, where a big change to this race could happen. He is mirroring.
But now we don't know that could not. It may be the correct call.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, it's. I don't really know the time split difference between going right side to here, to Armos Knights, and left side. I do know that it's harder, at least for me, to go right side to Armos Knights.
Yeah.
Especially without Cape on that one bridge. So we were at 14, this is 15, is the compass, 16, and 17 behind Armos Knights is the big key location. So if you were the chooser of the number 17, you will be the victor. And that would be Quirky Geek 17. 17 seems to be a lucky number for Quirky Geek. It's in their name. Congratulations on being Kreskin-like today. Your name is now added to the rolls of correct selectors and will remain that way until such time as we reset the bot.
Okay, so for JCopes, this is all about execution now. I'm going to be going straight to the top. A lot of rooms with enemies, have to full clear in order to get through. Named the Gauntlet for that one reason, and Gauntlet is easily, like, in terms of execution, probably the hardest section of the game. Just because, like, the enemies have such random patterns, you can never expect a room to go in the same way. So because of that, like, when you're speedrunning it, this can be a really brutal section to get through.
Got to see a red BMOS transition. Very angry BMOS.
How can they be so angry? In the next room, they're on a treadmill, they're having fun going around in circles. They have no reason to be angry.
Ice room in the Gauntlet, not JCopes' friend today.
Gonna pick up this fairy here. Probably good. He was only at 1 heart. I think he still has that fairy, but
Man, choosing not to go with the silver arrows. Now, if you convert that bunny beam into a fairy, it does change the pattern that Landmolus 2 comes out in. They actually come out a lot closer, making it a lot harder to one cycle. But
yeah, but at that point he really needed health, so I can understand making that decision.
Yeah. So, my favorite rooms, the Wizrobe rooms here in Ganon's Tower, make you feel so awesome. And jmeasher picks up his big key there behind Almost Knights and heads up the tower, a few minutes behind JCopes.
Yeah, I love those Wizrobe rooms, because, like, you can tell the developers made that room with the Cane of Samaria in mind. It just, it works so perfectly.
It's just too perfect.
Yeah.
And we head up. Don't even need to kill these Helmsars, mini Helmsars, because got all the keys necessary. JCopes having a little bit of unlucky bomb placement there, getting bodied by the spikes.
But gonna have a nice full health re-heal right here. Opting to not grab the magic. He does have half magic, so it's not too much of a concern, but...
Getting a great dash to start off Trolldorm 2, followed by a spin.
Oh, wow, that was quick.
Oh, misses the chest there on the way out, and is on his way to Aga 2. So time for some geometry wars. How many blue balls? See? Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, I think that was a triple right there, unless the second and thirds were too close together.
I'm going to say that that was definitely a triple. I heard all of the groans from Aghanim, and that double there confirms it. So,
yeah.
3-1-2, excellent on JCopes' side.
Yeah, very, very nice pattern there.
Meanwhile, jmeasher is actually, I would say, probably made up some time on his gauntlet run. Not likely to be enough as long as JCopes is able to complete his Ganon fight without a fall. With Tempered Sword, Silver Arrows, it's a pretty straightforward fight.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, it's going to take 3 cycles to get through this first phase. Or, well, 2, but yeah.
Yep. And for those of you watching who haven't seen speedruns of this boss fight, the reason JCopes just paused there for a moment before starting to attack is damage done to exit a phase on Ganon won't count towards his next phase until he actually starts it. So in that case, he's waiting for the Fire Bat spin to start before swinging anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And now we enter phase 3. Just 4 hits in this phase.
So no torch glitch, but a perfect setup here. Oh no, switching to the wrong item. I was going to say a great setup for a triple, but it is of no concern as JCopes takes down Ganon, and as long as he's able to cross this 3-tile wide narrow bridge of doom, should be entering the tile room, or sorry, the Triforce room momentarily and claiming his victory, just as jmeasher enters Aga 2. So very, very close.
Yeah, and he's going to finish his run with a time of 1 hour, 49 minutes, and 4 seconds. Get your GGs in chat. Really, really nicely well played by JCopes.
So jmeasher now takes down Aga 2, and will be starting his Ganon fight. Meanwhile, just waiting for JCopes to see if we'll get him in for an interview in just a few moments. I'm sure we'll have lots to say. So jmeasher now pushing phase 2. Looks like he's got enough swipes in here to get phase 3 right away. Oh, I was mistaken. Off by 1.
I actually do not remember him getting that blue potion. He might have done that before going up the Death Mountain then.
Yeah, he did take a spot after getting the flute to head over to the witch. And, you know, that's maybe, 30, 40 seconds that might have played a small role. Wouldn't have been enough, it looks like, to have made a difference, but could have been a little bit closer. Although he did need the potion, so... So jmeasher gets his double as well. Ganon was just a little bit too close to the middle there to get a triple out of it. But now as long as jmeasher can traverse this treacherous and dangerous path, he as well will be finishing up the seed just behind. So a very close race. With an official speed racing TV time of 1 hour, 52 minutes, and 17 seconds. Let's throw some GGs up into the chat for jmeasher. Congratulations on completing the seed. It's such an awesome race.
Definitely, and looks like we can actually bring both of them into the room, so let's go ahead and do that. So... Okay, welcome to both of our runners to the interview, JCopes4Life and jmeasher. GG on a really, really close race.
Thank you.
Yeah, GG JCopes.
GG.
Okay, so I guess to start, go ahead and go with our victor for this, JCopes. How did you feel about that seed?
I did not feel good once I found out Ice Rod was my go mode once again. Aside from that, I didn't think it was too bad.
Yeah, it seemed like, especially early on, you were definitely kind of zeroing in on like all the dungeons, and that was definitely like really, really paying off, especially with that mirror acquisition very, very early in the seed.
Yeah, at that point, it was a 50-50 between Desert or Skull Woods. I figured I was right beside Skull Woods, so I gambled it. Luckily, it did pay out.
And on the other side of the coin, jmeasher, how did you feel about that scene?
I felt great about it for the first hour or so, and then not so great about it afterwards.
Yeah, I'm guessing that mirror was a bit of an annoyance in particular for this particular seed here.
The mirror was bad, but flute really was the thing that got me. And I could have had it. So I could have had it before Turtle Rock if I had. But I mean, I had everything I needed for Turtle Rock, so it was just kind of like I'm full clear. It. Hope that flute is in there. But yeah, the super late mirror and then go mode flute. I felt a little bit better when I found the flute, because if it wasn't there on Ether Tablet, I was going to be just... I had so many like fragments of checks left all over the map that it was going to be just a nightmare. Yeah,
we were kind of talking about that, how, like, you know, when you have a case like the mirror, It's either an item you want to get early, so you can kind of like start checking all of those overworld mirror spots, or as your last item, because later on in the seed, when you're only looking for one item, it adds like so many other locations to the pool. And that's what we were kind of worried about for a bit. It seemed like you did kind of avoid that a little bit by going straight to the smith, skip the ice rod, and I think you were back up the Death Mountain right after that, so you did save a little bit of time there. But yeah, not having that mirror the first time you went to Dark Death Mountain did kind of hurt, because JCopes did actually have the novelty of having the mirror then, so he was able to check Ether Tablet when he was up there, so he was able to get that, and then as we heard, he made Ice Rod his go mode item.
Yeah, I'd been playing really conservatively early in the seed, and just kind of as it went along, and I wasn't finding anything, and especially after the swamp, I felt really, really bad about going back in for that last item. I was like, I know there's only one item left here, but I'm not going to let myself get beat on there being something dumb in left side swamp. And then when that didn't end up paying off, I kind of went into gambling mode. And yeah, I just leaving desert early, I didn't feel good about that either. Before killing Landmo, I mean, it ended up working out okay, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The one question I have for you, though, JCopes, you finish off Ice Palace there. It didn't pay off for you. And you're still looking for the Ice Rod. Were you tempted to go right up to Turtle Rock at that point, or were you absolutely 100% going to clear out some of those overworld locations?
I was tempted to go into Turtle Rock very early, and it was a thought that was going through my mind the entire seed. But I think more so I was tempted to finish Eastern Palace, because I dipped as soon as finding the glove.
That's true, you did.
Oh,
Yes.
that's right, yeah.
So that was another thing that was lingering in the back of my mind, especially Green Pendant too. I was really hoping there was nothing else in there.
Yeah, it turned out to be actually very interesting to watch both of you play through the seed, because as you know now, JCopes, you went up to Skull Woods, and conversely, jmeasher, your path took you into Eastern Palace, kind of that's where you were opposite one another at that point. And interestingly enough, Mirror found in one location, the Titansmiths found in Eastern Palace. So you both had to probably feel like that was a great call. I went into a pendant dungeon, I got something awesome. And it was really just kind of a guessing game as to who was going to go into the other pendant first in order to continue to progress through the seed.
Yeah, I think anytime you have progression items in pendant dungeons like that, it's just such a crapshoot, especially with this where all three pendant dungeons were available relatively early. I mean, and I started getting worried about the pedestal at a certain point. But yeah, it was, and then I full cleared Eastern Palace, which didn't end up paying out at all. But yeah, it's just one of those seeds, so much overworld and pendant dungeon value there.
Yeah, when you have a seed where when you're looking for about 4 or 5 go mode items to finish up, and all 5 of them could be on the pedestal, like you definitely get into that mode where it's like, okay, wow, pedestal really could be a thing right now, and it's just something, it's hard to make that call, because if you do go into, and desert was completely useless in this seed, so do you risk going into a dungeon that has nothing for a greater item location or not? It's just a really tough call to make.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't know, did you guys have audio on me while I was going through Misery Mire?
I don't remember, honestly.
Okay, because the spooky glitch was really spooky this seed. I set it up and I hit the first spike with the fire rod, and nothing happened until I got all the way around to going up to where the switch is, and then it activated.
I did not notice that.
That's very interesting.
I have no clue what happened. If anybody wants to go back and watch my VOD and try to figure it out, I was really spooked out at that.
It is a very interesting and spooky glitch, so not very well understood. I mean, we understand it, but lots of weird things can happen with it. So kind of neat. Now, my next question, jmeasher, were you tempted to go full right side in that Gaines's Tower Big Key hunt? I'm not sure. Maybe one of you could answer. If it is behind Armos Knights, is it faster to go left side or right side to get there from that point? I don't know the answer. So
my guess would be that full right side is faster in that situation.
Mhm.
I would think so too. I'm not 100% sure though.
There's just way more checks. Like you have to do Stalfos room, Rando room if you go left side. So
yeah, but there's that bridge. I with the
That
fire
bridge
bar
is
and the
evil.
spike.
That bridge is evil.
I can't do it. And you guys, and of course, for both of you, without the cape or cane at that point, would have made it too hard for me at least. So I'm not sure how comfortable you would be with trying it along those lines.
I've done it before, but it's not very much fun.
I typically avoid going right side. Well, I'll always do the 2 chest room, then go to the left side. So I very rarely see that bridge. And I'd like to keep it that way because I don't like that bridge one bit.
Yeah, makes sense. But again, like, really nicely job to both of you. Like, and it was really cool because I was looking at like statistics from the tournament before we started this, and you know, both of you won your matches in Game 3 for the last round. Both of you had 5-2 in Swiss. So really, this was very evenly matched, and it really showed. If you watch it back, seriously, Swamp was so on sync, and like you both had different like item requirements at that point, but Swamp Palace was so on sync, it was crazy. Like literally, you both entered at the same time, and you both pretty much finished it around the same time too. So it was really, really cool to watch that. I think Game 2, and I would not be surprised if the Game 3 happened from this as well. This is going to be a really fun series. So, you know, very nicely done for both of you.
Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I can give everybody a Game 3 tomorrow.
Okay, well, you heard it there, folks. They are playing their Game 2 tomorrow. If you want to catch that at 9 p.m. EDT, so same time tonight. So if you want to come back and watch that, feel free to go ahead. As far as other matches, this is actually our last match for the night, but join us tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m., also Eastern Daylight Time. We have Jighart versus Cobb La. So if you want to come by, watch some more Randomizer, definitely come back for that. I got 9 other matches in addition to that, including this Game 2 as well. So if you liked what you saw tonight, definitely come back and watch some more tomorrow and the remaining days and weeks of the tournament, going on for a long time. So follow those Speed Gaming channels, Speed Gaming 1 through 6, as well as the ALTTP Randomizer channels 1 through 4, and I believe 5 is also an addition as well, so definitely keep that in mind. But I'll go ahead and sign out from me. You can go ahead and take care of the remaining shout-outs there, Frozone, and thank you for commentating.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Slim Kirby. It was great to work with you tonight. I'd like to also throw out a reminder and thanks to Drosy1, who was our tracker this evening, keeping all those little lights at the bottom of the screen lit up. It certainly helps the viewers keep track of the action, and it definitely is something that I know I rely on. So we greatly appreciate all of your help. In addition, the runners have had their channels broadcast in the chat window for you. If you could go ahead and give them a little bit of love by way of a follow, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody. There's plenty of Randomizer tournament left in the coming days and weeks. Thanks once again, JCopes, congratulations, and jmeasher. We look forward to seeing the two of you race tomorrow.
Thank you. I'm excited for tomorrow as well.
Yeah, definitely the same. Thank you guys for commentating.
Have a great night, everyone.
See you guys later.